Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Sue, your East Oakland advocate. Well, I made that video earlier this morning about the mama, and I spoke about the breed, her breed, American Bulldog, and the Scott line, and the advantages of having a dog like her versus a Rottweiler, which is the German Austrian version of a really big dog uh, that is very powerful and has a similar background. Uh, just that there were two versions, and this particular version originally came from England, and these were farming protection dogs, like I mentioned in the video, and that they're very powerful because they're meant to take on bears up to 250 pounds as an individual dog. Also can take on the likes of a wild boar, coyote, wolves, uh, mountain lions, and bobcats. And it's interesting because the bulldog breed itself is so versatile, and a lot of people think that they're really uh, vicious. They can be, but it takes experience. And one of the things I want to talk about is getting too much dog today. Having too much dog beyond your capabilities. Number one, the larger the dog, the more food it's going to eat. Also, the exercise needs goes up exponentially. Also, with larger dogs, and also their maintenance, their beds, washing, cleaning, their toys. So there's a lot of different things, and then there's also ailments that they all seem to have at one time or another. But uh, having a really large dog like this is a very big commitment. And you also have to realize that these animals are very powerful. And I'm going to tell you a story about my staff sergeant. He got in over his head with a dog. He knew Pandora, and Pandora knew him. Uh, so he said, "Well, that's a little dog. I want a man's dog." Is my staff sergeant? He was a big guy. He's 6'3", 280 pounds, and he he says he wasn't afraid of Pandora, but he was, and his Pandora protected my particular truck, and she treated my truck like it was her truck, and nobody came within 10 feet. And like I said, she was a she was a piranha with four legs, because when she attacked, she was taking chunks out of you, um, and that's how she was trained. To take chunks out. Is She was professionally trained with our canine unit, and I worked extensively with her, and that's how I have a lot of my training experience with dogs. With aggressive breed dogs, the first thing that you want to do, the most important thing, is socialization, and then that way helps you to control that large, powerful animal more easily. Um, Also, you have to build up a very, very close level of trust between the two of you. And I've always established that with all of my dogs. Uh, and some people say, well, what did you do? Well, one of the things, you have to establish boundaries. And the home was set up in two different types of boundaries. One, which is the downstairs, the main floor of the home, they were allowed anywhere on that first floor. However, they were not allowed on the second floor. And people say, well, why did you do that? They were my first line of defense for my home. And so anything peeking in the windows, coming through the doors, they dealt with it. And I had two dogs. The other dog was not an attack dog. It was a what I call a diversion dog in professional training. It was the diversion dog that draws all the tension, and then that allows the working dog, the attack dog, Pandora in this case, to go to work. And by uh, barking, nipping, poking, that's what the other dog did. The other dog was was not a fighter or anything. Mary, she was a black lab and a whippet. For those of you that don't know what a whippet is, it's the next smaller size of greyhound. They're racing dogs. They're very skittish. They're not very brave dogs, but they are extremely quick. Mary was extremely quick. As back east, she got out once, and it took all six animal control units chasing her for nearly 45 minutes at over 30 miles an hour to catch her. They had to tire her out, and she has the stamina of her dad, the Labrador, because he was a hunting dog, and so she was an incredible dog, and she learned aggression through the canine training course, and also working with Pandora, which we considered them sisters because they looked exactly alike, except for the white stripe on Mary's neck extended up a little further, and Mary was 3 inches taller than Pandora. But other than that, when I first had them together, it actually took me a week to figure out the difference between the two, just by sight, so that I could immediately identify them. But that's how similar they were. They had the same markings on the chest, same markings on the toes, same coloring, similar body build. So a lot of people thought they were sisters because they looked identical, very very identical. But one had a head of more like the Whippet, and then there was Pandora, who had the more pit bullish head that everybody recognizes. But anyway, John, my staff sergeant, got the Akita, and uh, John was married, and his wife was 90 pounds, so she's a little woman. And the dog, Nuba, grew to over 170 pounds. This was a male Akita. I mean, this is a big dog. And John said, I want a big dog. And Nuba is a very impressive dog. Uh, but also, John had issues with the dog because he did not know how to train him properly. He would not take him to the classes that we recommended, and ended up getting in trouble. In fact, it nearly cost John his marriage because his wife was terrified of the dog, and when she was left to have to feed him and water him, she was terrified of the dog, and the dog sensed that. And so that's a real big problem there when the dog already knows that somebody in the family is afraid of it. That is a big red flag. You cannot have anybody in the house who lives with this dog that literally gives out the I'm afraid of you, I'm terrified of you vibe. And so the wife, she literally, if she the dog was out in the yard loose, she literally just opened the door and slide the dog food out when the dog was on the other side of the yard, and then slammed the door shut. And that's how she dealt with it. She didn't want to work with the dog. I worked with her to see if I could help her overcome her fear of dogs. Um, and but she liked Pandora, and Pandora is very nice to her and everything. And she said, I wish my dog could be like that, but I'm terrified. That dog's bigger than me. And she was right. She's 90 pounds. The dog's 170. That's a serious problem, also. And even though John was a big guy, that didn't stop the dog from establishing dominance over John. And then when that happened, it's over. Uh, and you have to literally get rid of the dog, because the dog now knows that he can dominate you and how it's done. And I happened to catch that coming over to their home in Alameda to check on them. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'm driving up, and I'm hearing John yelling from his yard. And I walk over to the yard, and seeing what's going on. And I see Nuba, his full-grown 170-pound Akita, got John by the leg. John had on the job broken his leg, and so he was off work for a time being. That's why I was checking on him and checking on the dog. Nuba had him by the cast and was dragging his big ass all over the yard like he was just a sack of flour. Anytime that my staff sergeant sat up, dog knew, grab the leg and pull. And I mean, he pulled him all over the yard. And John, yeah, he had a cane. He hit the dog with the cane. You know what the dog did? Took the cane away from John. Grabbed the cane, took it on another side of the yard, came back to him, and was like, now what are you going to do? These animals are smart. And unfortunately, some people get into situations where they have more dog than they can handle. And that was one of those situations. I advised John not to get an Akita before he got the Akita. He said, I love those dogs. They're beautiful animals, and I love the aura that they give. Okay. So I said, John, that's a really bad pick. I highly recommend you give this some serious thought, because that is a kind of dog that is very aloof to begin with, and it is a one owner dog, and you have two people in the house, plus you have your grandchildren that come. I said, John, that is not a good choice for your dog. Oh, put together a cage in the back for the dog. So that's what John did. And but anyway, I had to rescue John from his dog. And I told him, John, now that the dog knows how to get you, and that it is not intimidated by you, and it certainly knows that your wife is terrified of him. So you have a very serious problem in this household, and you're going to have to get rid of that dog within the next 6 months. And John didn't believe me. He said, oh, no, that's just a dog. I can straighten him out. So, oh, no, John. He's already proven he's more powerful than you, and you're 280 pounds. This is a 170-pound dog dominating you. So John didn't listen to me. It took him about 45 days to figure out I was right, because the dog was dominating him, and John couldn't do anything with that dog. I said, well, you're going to have to get rid of him, sell him somebody. And a great looking dog like that. John didn't have any problems rehoming the dog. And the dog was rehomed to LA. So not exactly a great location for the dog in terms of heat, but hopefully that dog got into a good home, and in a home where he was well managed. But anyway, that's what a lot of folks unfortunately jump into, getting a dog or an animal of their own without really taking the time to get to know the animal, see if it's right for you, if its personality is right for you. When I adopted Pandora from the SPCA, there was another dog that I was looking at, and Pandora was number two choice. Number one choice was a Rottweiler. But during the introduction and get to know you time, the dog didn't have any interest in me whatsoever. How do I know? Because the dog didn't look at me. It was looking outside the window. It was looking everywhere but at me. And so when you have a dog like that, that is the signal that says, okay, let's move on to the next one. This one has no interest in me. And take your time. Take your time. Get to know the animal. Let the animal get to know you. And also everybody in the household. That's one of the um, great things that the SPCA has in place, the introduction portion, and also allows any pets that you have in your home to also be introduced with the prospective adopt the there at the animal shelter, and that's highly advantageous and also greatly lowers the possibility of that dog or cat being returned. So take your time, uh, do a lot of research on the animal. Take your time getting to know the animal, having the family members get to know the animal. Also, if that breed is the right fit for your particular lifestyle. So all of these matter in order to have a happy household and a long and productive, positive life with your new companion. I have mine. I expect her to live uh, to age 12 to 16. She's just coming up on 8 years old. I don't know her exact date. Neither did Jerry when Jerry Haas was alive. And when Jerry had her, she said that I got her because the guy that was in the apartment, um, he got evicted too. But uh, his girlfriend suddenly took him back, and dude left the dog there on its own. I said, okay, I don't need the dog anymore. So didn't return it to wherever he got it or properly rehome it. Just left the dog. And so Jerry took the dog because she was being evicted and the sheriffs were throwing everybody and everything out. So that's how Jerry ended up with Mama. And she didn't know the name, but Mama was pregnant at the time also. And within a few weeks, gave birth to, I believe it was four or five puppies, and only two survived. Uh, but the ones that didn't make it were because she was a new mother. Number one, the dog, and her immense size. It doesn't take much. When she sits down, a big dog like that really puts their weight down. And unfortunately, her weight crushed some of the puppies in the early days of birth, and they didn't make it. But two did, and they were rehomed. Uh, but when you're looking for a new friend, new companion, take your time. Investigate the breed that's going to work for you. What are your expectations for the dog? What's your lifestyle like? How much time are you going to be able to devote to the animal? I devote 24 hours a day to mine. That's why mine is so loyal to me, and she's always by my side. I get up and go somewhere, she follows. These dogs can be kind of clingy, but um, you get used to it, and it's great having them. And then it's a funny feeling when you don't have them, uh, like when uh, after Pandora passed on. It was a transition period for me to get used to not having to walk an animal, not having to feed an animal, not to budget money for her maintenance, upkeep, and food and everything else. So it was a transition for me. It took me a year uh, to transition out of all the the mental things that go along with owning an animal. But now that I have one again, it's nice to have the companionship. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.